Hello, and welcome back to yet another Geek Show. You like that? Does that taste good for you? Yeah, you close? Oh, fuck yeah, close. I'm your host, Alex Ecker.
I'm your host, Dalton Lee, and I hate this. Hey, we have a guest.
Hi, I'm the guest. My name's Wolfkaosaun. I don't know what the piss I just listened to. But yeah, I do comedic video game reviews, and I'm here we're going to talk about some awful shit.
Yep. Well, I had to make the intro awful, so that way, people knew what they were going into.
You made me put my pants back on.
I made you put your pants back on? No.
Yeah, you did that. You did that to everyone.
So, Resident Evil, the 2002 movie. How do we want to talk about this?
Let's get into our personal histories with this. So, Sean, before this moment, how many times have you watched this movie?
Oh no.
Probably once before today.
Was that in the theater?
No.
When it was new, at least?
No, it was like one of those, like, hey, we're gonna hang out and watch this spooky movie, and it was not.
People told you it was spooky?
Look, there's a lot of mistakes that we make when we're teenagers.
Was it still 2002 when someone told you this?
I mean, probably. Look, I came from like a Christian school, okay? Harry Potter was scary.
I mean, that troll in the first movie was pretty terrifying, let's be fair.
Yeah, true. Touche.
At least back then.
So I did see this in the theater when it was new.
Oh,
I'm sorry for whoever's money was wasted.
And now this is bizarre. I did buy the DVD or ask for it for Christmas or some shit, whatever. I was 11 and I watched it over and over again and I loved it at the time. And as an adult, I know better. And see, I put off revisiting this movie for years and years until now because like I knew objectively, hey, the internet told me this is a bad movie. I believe them. They've been pretty consistent about it. But my memory of it was still good. And I was really nervous to go back and ruin it. And boy, I have sufficiently ruined it.
Oh, yeah. It's not a good movie.
So it's not Doom. I'll give it that.
It's better than Doom.
Yeah.
Both Dooms, in fact, I would even reckon.
Yeah, I mean, small clap for that.
All right, setting high goals here for video game movies. So, Alex, did you also see this at the time?
No.
Is this your first time, or are you revisiting?
I didn't go to a religious school. I just had very overprotective parents. So no. I didn't see this movie until I was like 19 when I seen this movie.
So it was a blessing that you weren't allowed to see it.
I mean, I chose to see it when I was old enough, which was a bad move, but...
Yeah. Your parents were trying to warn you.
They tried to warn me about a lot of things.
Yeah, but I think this is number one, or at least top three.
All right, well, I
Yeah,
guess
that's
let's dive into why it's bad.
The other two were
Instead of
Doom.
continuing to reiterate that it is bad. To start with, what about the fact that this didn't actually adapt seemingly anything from the games? And it's maybe I'm going to contradict stuff I've previously said, because I've said before that when a video game is made into a movie, I don't actually think you should adapt the plot right out of that game. I've always said I think you should tell another story in that world. And technically they did that here, but it doesn't work. I don't know if I needed them to like use an actual video game character, even if they don't go and tell the same story. But then again, I don't know how I would have worked any video game characters into like being a side character in a different story. I'm not sure how I would have done that. Do you guys have a different idea of how you would have approached this project if you were starting there from the beginning?
Starting all the way back in 2002?
If someone came to you and said, hey, you're the producer or the writer, like, just what would your idea have been? Because my idea would not have been, hey, let's not use any actual game storylines, but it does take place in, the Umbrella Corporation, but also there's no zombies for the first third of the movie. Like, this was just the wrong approach. What would your approach have been?
Funny enough, that was actually one of my notes that you just mentioned. One of my notes I wrote was, fuck this Red Queen nonsense. Give me zombies already. Almost 30 minutes in.
Beautiful. And it's not wrong.
No, it's not. And then later I put, the drowned lady was a zombie this whole time. Who'd have guessed?
So both of you, and definitely you, Sean, are more familiar with the games than I am. Is there anything in this movie that makes like a significant callback to the games at all?
The only things I can think of, Sean, you might have to correct me on this. I don't believe the T virus was a video game thing. It was the G virus, wasn't it?
No, actually, I think it was a T virus. I think. Crap.
Because T was for Tyrant, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
There were some things that they did derive from the games. I did like how there was a slow build up to the zombies, but at the same time, when it felt like there was maybe like 10 minutes of zombies in the whole entire movie.
Yeah, that's pretty right.
And it wasn't like, a foreboding, like, oh crap, we have like 5 bullets, we better, No, it was like, hey, we got these machine guns and like
1 hour.
Yeah, 1 hour. And the thing that bothered me the most is that they would only shoot like the body. After they learned like, oh hey, the head, do that. They were just like, yeah, just big massive body, shoot their legs out. No.
Right.
No, you're stupid.
Actually, I have a note about that. The first shots in the movie are stealing from Tarantino's book.
Really?
Because when they shoot him, or when they shoot the first zombie, they get launched 30 feet back.
Yeah.
And then the lines after were, bitch ain't standing now. And then the next few lines after that was, she's gone. Where did she go? They kept trying to harp on the point of, oh, what are they? When, come on, guys, we know.
Yeah. It's like, if you're watching Resident Evil, you know what it's about. Like, you have a simple concept. You may not know exactly, the lore. You may not know, like, every single game, but, like, zombies are involved. There's just, oh, my God.
I mean, I don't think anyone ended up in the theater that didn't know what they were in for.
Yeah.
Right.
So, I guess it's not a super big problem that it took as long as it did to get to the zombies. It's more that
what they did with
in the
them?
meanwhile, well, yeah, the fact that like it's not a horror movie at all, but also like they were turning the building itself into the villain, which it made it feel like a different kind of movie than it was supposed to be. Like, it starts off like, oh, there's a nerve gas, and oh, the building did it on purpose, and so it spends what is it, like 40 minutes just establishing that like the building itself is evil, and then, oh, by the way, this is a zombie movie. And it's like, why did we need 40 minutes of other explanation to get there?
It's like Disney's Smart House with zombies.
And one of the things that I immediately seen off the bat with this movie, one of my notes was, most of the actors really look like their part, or none of the actors, sorry, I put a typo. None of the actors really look like their part. They just look like actors.
Yeah.
I mean, they just look like, oh, hey, I'm wearing this weird clothing and I'm also an actor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like it felt kind of out of place.
Yeah. Not to discredit some of these actors, but like they didn't.
No, I'm going to discredit them. Nobody sold me.
Yeah.
Like the dude that played Matt, Eric Mabius, I believe his name is, or Mobius. As soon as I seen and heard his voice, I swear to you, the entire movie I kept calling him Kurt because he looks like Kurt from The Good Burger.
I need to look at this right now.
Let me.
No, you're kidding. Google Kurt Good Burger. I'm trying to like make my typing sound loud.
You're fine.
Oh my
I'm
God.
actually gonna. Doesn't he?
Why?
That's the guy. That's the guy. I just linked you guys in our group chat here. Eric Mabius.
Who thought this was okay?
He looks like Kurt from The Good Burger, and that's all I could see out of this movie. In fact, just to hype up all the extra Razor's Edge cringe in this movie, probably like an hour and 20 minutes or however long it took. I wrote in my notes here, I had a conversation with my wife mid-movie, and I said, what's the main lady's name? I forget.
Oh, you asking
Like
us?
the character or the actress?
Was it Alice is the main character's name?
It
Yeah, her name's
is, and I only remember because you just said it.
Right. Because then my wife said, it's Alice, I think. And then me responding to her, I said, of fucking course it would be. Because this movie is just, it's trying to be tough and edgy for no reason.
Yeah.
You
It's
know?
like, so have you like seen the other movies this guy has made?
I have not. Unless all the other Resident Evil movies.
Those and the
W.S.
infamous
Anderson?
Mortal Kombat movie.
He made that. Oh,
He made Mortal
no.
Kombat,
Yes, that was
Seriously?
the second movie he ever made.
but Mortal Kombat understood Mortal Kombat.
Right.
Yeah. And he's making Monster Hunter, the movie.
And he immediately started making the same mistakes.
Yeah. I mean, there were some good ideas, I think, in the first Resident Evil movie.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
But it kind of like, in the beginning, there were like some cool, interesting parts where I was like, all right, I'm kind of into this. And then it just like goes very downhill and it's blah, for lack of a better term. I don't even know how to describe it outside of blah. Like, awful.
It just starts becoming a series of pictures happening at you.
Yeah. Speaking
It
of
really
pictures,
does, yeah.
the thing that like also annoyed me a little bit, like this is just nitpicky, but like remember how they have amnesia and it's like, oh, who were we? We're figuring out. Alice remembers a fucking memory from the other person where she had no idea what was going on, but she remembers that. Like it was like a scene where it was like from his point of view, and like he's like in a room or whatever, and she's nowhere near there, and she remembers that. I mean, I just saw the movie today, so that's why like I'm.
Yeah.
Are you sure that wasn't what's his face, the dude that gets licked?
Oh yeah. But like,
Yeah, because he also had amnesia. There's several notes in here where I put liquor hardly know her. By the way,
good.
I mean, while watching it, I made the comment that if I could never see another amnesia plot line in any story ever again, that would be great.
Yeah, like it was.
It's
back
every
then,
Resident Evil movie.
Yeah. And like another thing that annoyed me as we're talking about the liquor is the fact that the liquor's like mutating as it eats somebody. Like that's that's not a thing.
No, it absolutely isn't. And they looked god awful.
Yeah.
I mean, like my wife was like, well, it's 2002.
I was actually going to say for 2002, I think it looked really good.
For 2002, sure.
Yeah.
But
it also doesn't like, what do you think's scarier? Like if you saw the liquor trailer, not liquor trailer, like the liquor from Resident Evil 1 or the movie, what's going to be scarier?
Well,
like just the first time you see it.
Yeah,
In
well, the
context of the
movie
game.
doesn't accomplish horror at all because it's introduced as an action villain.
Yeah. But like even just looking at them compared to one another, which one are you going to be more afraid of?
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. It's entirely on the way they're introduced. Yeah.
Yeah, like there were some good ideas. Like I do like the fact that they went to like a different area. Like they went to Umbrella Corps, and like it was kind of cool to do that. I was kind of hoping, even rewatching, I'm like, oh, I wonder if they're going to end up like going to the surface level and seeing all the crap that went down, which they do at the end with Alice for like 5 minutes. And like, that was like a cool, I'm not going to lie, like that shot made me like, all right, maybe the next movie's going to be good. Because
I
now,
do really like the ending.
That ending was really good.
It actually set up to like, oh, hey, maybe I will watch the next movie. And
yeah, absolutely. And
it was
you regret watching it.
Yeah.
There was a note, speaking of like the scenery and stuff, they're in an underground lab using fake sceneries in the windows. How did everyone get into the building without Mia's character knowing it or seeing her? Right? Because if you remember the 3D model, they only showed one entrance. So where were all the cars?
Yeah, because they drive down into it.
Oh, they did drive down into it?
From what I remember, because there's like a map where like they go like down and underneath, but like still there'd be cars down there too.
Right. And where are all these, dirty, gross cars or, what's the time frame from when she passed out to when the halon gas killed everyone? You know what I mean? Because there's just that spot just like, I don't know, because like the 3D model looked like it only had one entrance in it.
Yeah.
Although I did catch something that was really funny about that. The 3D models, when they were showing them through the heat signature technology, state of the art.
Yeah.
The 3D models were T-posing in certain spots.
Wait, were they?
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's beautiful.
I did not catch that.
It killed me.
This movie's now a 5 out of 10. It moved up.
Right. One of my favorite lines, because I always watch these movies with subtitles on. The one, what was his name in the movie? Oh goodness.
People had names in this movie.
Yeah,
right.
Honest,
Alice.
I don't remember anyone's name outside of Alice. And like,
Was it James Butler?
Sure.
The black dude.
Okay.
Yes, maybe.
When Alice was doing like her PTSD flashbacking, and he like sneaks up behind her and he says, "I said keep it tight." And then he immediately doesn't keep it tight because he gets cut into a bunch of pieces.
Yeah.
All right. So here's my questions about that scene, because that was one of the things that like
it was
as
an
a
iconic
memory
scene of the
stuck
movie.
out to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
stuck out to me as a memory from seeing it when I was younger. It did leave me to several questions. A, why didn't it just do the grid the first time?
Right.
And B, would he have lived if he stepped back 2 feet? It didn't go all the way to the door.
No, it didn't. It stopped.
Oh my god. No, I didn't catch that. That's bad. That's really bad.
So yes, he could have lived.
He didn't keep it
Yeah.
tight.
The effect there is surprisingly decent. I did find out that it was actually mostly practical. I did like when it was zoomed in on his face, it did look like they did some like digital like melting before it all fell.
Yeah.
But the falling apart into pieces, they made the pieces
Oh,
and actually made it
that's
fall
sweet.
apart like that.
it's actually kind of cool. I'm not gonna lie.
That's actually really cool. The
Yeah,
one
and
thing
then-
about the melting that I didn't like is if it's one thing you kind of have to get right in a Resident Evil movie is anatomy.
Mm-hmm. The
I'm
gore
pretty-
didn't really like.
It's the eyes. When he got cut into bits,
Oh yeah,
his
like
eyes
melts.
wouldn't leak white.
Yeah.
I'm like 90% certain like your eyes just like hollow with like a gelatin in it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah, well, and it was because of like the way that the melting itself was digital, like with what they had at the time. It was probably just literally like they smeared the image
yeah.
in post processing.
Simba.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They Simba'd him.
The liquor was also actually practical with effects added,
Oh, was it?
which is why it looks better than it should for
Huh.
2002. They at least
Okay.
got the motion out of a practical thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it makes sense coming from the Mortal Kombat director then.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All works out.
And the zombies look decent too. It's just the facility is really boring to look at.
Yeah, like it's very one colored, like throughout the entire
Mhm.
movie.
It's always a risk with a movie that takes place in like one place like this does.
Yeah. Which,
See,
like, I
like-
think. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, no, go ahead, bud.
I was just gonna like. I think like even a house would have been better because you can like if you're going through a laboratory, everything's gonna pretty much look the same. Nothing's gonna
Right.
stick out. Like I could not tell you any different shots. Like I can't even tell you different rooms. But if you go to like a house, like you can say, oh, the bedroom, oh,
Mhm.
the kitchen, and like they're gonna have different backgrounds. They're gonna have pictures, like all sorts of different stuff. So it would have been a better setting, even if it's like
Yeah.
a big mansion or whatever. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they already
Yeah,
had the
I never-
mansion. That's the funniest part.
Yeah.
Yeah, I never have any sense of where they are.
Yeah.
Yeah. Except
don't know if-
800 feet underground.
Yeah. Are they in the same room? Did they move to a new room? I don't know. But there's like 37 zombies coming, but it's okay because they're going to shoot them in the face. Also, real quick.
Torso, not the face.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Continuity error. The one thing that bothers me the most is there's this one stupid freaking scene where Alice like gets up and like puts her thighs around the zombie's head and snaps
Oh
his
my
neck.
god. I made a note about that. It's
Her thighs are exposed and she puts her thighs up to her zombie's face and snaps his neck with it. With one, that's stupid. Two, they just established that you can turn by getting bit. Why would you do that? What are you
Right.
deserve to get stabbed? Like someone just I just hope, well, not hope because I saw all the other movies.
Oh,
but if you ever do like Resident Evil Final Chapter 2.7, I hope she gets stabbed.
2.7 remix. They're
You
going
know,
Kingdom Hearts on this shit.
I noticed
the funniest
that
part
shot-
about that neck snap was how like unrealistic the zombie was. He was just
Yeah, he just
like all he did was turn his head, and then he was like, "Oh, I'm dead. I'm a dead boy now."
So I noticed that shot happening, and my first thought was like, okay, this is dumb enough when it happens in like other action movies where like we all know we do this just because it's a little bit sexual. Isn't that neat? And then I'm like, do we really have to do like the sexual violence with a zombie? The thought did not even occur to me. Yeah, she's putting her thighs on a zombie's head.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like
wow.
So it makes no sense.
I had a note about her Alice's character in a couple spots. One of them was, of course, the dude's giving her his jacket because she's making the movie's adult rating go up.
Mm-hmm.
Two was she went from slap fighting a zombie to like shit whipping these dudes like heads clean off.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. Another thing I did.
Well, isn't the idea that her skills came back as her memory came back?
Yeah, but if her memory was still that hazy, you know what I mean? Like, not everything would just, come right back to you.
Yeah. It was funny, though, that, like, before they started revealing all the amnesia stuff, I was watching it with my wife, and she was like, why didn't they give her any gear? And I was, not remembering that part of the story. I'm like, I don't, maybe they just didn't have any to fit her. Maybe they thought it wouldn't actually make a noteworthy difference on someone who doesn't really know how to defend themselves anyway. And then they, reveal that she really is like part of the team. And I'm like, well, now I really want to know why they didn't put her in any gear.
Well, the funny thing is I made a note about that saying, man, this movie's really doing that. Can you spot the main character thing that animes always do?
Yeah. I think it's the one without the gear.
It's always the one without the gear because they don't need it.
Nope.
It'll only hold them back.
They got them thighs.
Exactly.
So stupid. I hated it.
Thick thighs kill lives.
Now, I would say that perhaps giving her the gear would have minimized her success at becoming one of my first childhood crushes. But I also had a childhood crush on Michelle Rodriguez, so that worked just fine even with the gear.
Yeah.
Speaking of Michelle Rodriguez, I do not like her character in this movie. It is so god awful.
No, at the time I thought she was so cool, and this time I'm like, oh man, this person's unbearable.
Yeah.
My opening line was exactly what she basically said to the zombies. She's just, oh yeah, you like that? Like dripping blood down a thing.
It's so cringe. It's such textbook. Hey, this is the 2000s, badass. But I'm gonna pretend it's still the 90s, and I'm a badass, and this is how you do cool dialogue, I guess.
Yeah, it's like some dad was like, you know what, you're the one that I'm gonna live through, and just wrote her lines. Didn't even think about the character itself. Was like, you know what, if I was in her shoes, this is what I would do.
I would say cool shit.
Yeah.
And then throw a grenade behind me.
I would say shit that's going to impress my kids' middle school friends.
Oh, you know he showed them that.
One-liners. Oh, you bet. Oh, you bet.
They came over for like a sleepover. It's like, all right, we're going to play some GoldenEye. Fuck no, we're not. We're watching this.
He's like, listen up, little pussies. We're watching Resident Evil.
They're like 8.
Yeah.
Hey, it worked though, because I thought she was cool at the time.
Got a bush light in one hand, a cigarette in the other.
Don't tell your mother about this.
That's so true too. And then like you finish watching the movie, it's super early in the morning, and he goes cuts the grass.
Good old
Nothing?
Silver and Dad.
I actually thought I was waiting for more joke at the end of that. I thought you stopped mid-sentence.
I'm describing
waiting for your
dad
brain to reset.
Oh no, my brain. I think it's just permanently crashing from this movie. But I'm just trying to go through my notes here.
Okay, another bit that I thought was cool at the time that is not working for me now was I thought the Red Queen was a really cool idea at the time. Yeah. I remember the like, you're all going to die down here. Like that dialogue still sticks in my head.
Be a pretty cool thing to sample.
Yeah. It's a really memorable quote, but like I don't know if it was the fact that I was watching it on like a low resolution DVD, but I did not remember in my head that like she's a projection, but she's also a shitty 3D model and not just like a projection of what would look like a real little girl. So I got that memory wrong in my head, but now I'm watching it and I'm like, why is this building personifying itself this way again? Like, okay, it's creepy, but like creepy little girl is kind of the default easy thing to do.
Yeah.
Hey, go watch this horror movie. It's great.
It made no sense.
Absolutely, it didn't.
It's a cool idea, but like it's even back then it was overdone.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like, absolutely.
And then it's just instead of like, I think it's kind of creepy that it doesn't look like a real girl, but
okay.
At the same time, it like overstayed its welcome, you know?
Yes.
And it was just like kind of like in your face a lot, rather than like say you're walking around like a hallway and just look over and she's just chilling right there, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's one thing that it was decided that the building should have like personified identity, but the fact that it's this little girl makes it like a weird meta thing where like the people within the world responsible for that decision obviously apparently wanted to spook people. Like there wasn't a functional purpose to it.
Right.
Like its personification should have been like a lab assistant.
Yeah.
But now I'm just wondering why they wanted to scare their workers. The lasers are even red too. If they didn't want it to be scary, why did they go with spooky ass red?
Because Resident Evil has red in it somewhere, maybe, sure.
Somewhere. And then why make the lasers that cut people blue?
Green?
They were like a bluish green. Why didn't they make them red? Because it was obviously her doing it.
So next question.
Actually,
I got nothing.
The other thing too, if we're talking about things that stick out from this movie, I might need the bullets. That guy. My note about that was I said I might need the bullets myself. Fuck, because that line does not work anymore, like at all.
I need the bullets.
Might need the bullets. I'm gonna use them on myself later.
Mm-hmm.
And then afterwards, my favorite part was that he gets bit, right? Right after he's acting all tough. And then the liquor finds him.
Hey,
and
he did say he might need them, not that he will need them.
Fair enough. And then my note afterwards was, wow, licked him and hardly knew him.
There was one death that I really liked in there, though.
Okay.
That was I don't remember his name, but like he's standing by that door and like it opens up like long ways and the zombies grab him and pull him in. Like that was actually kind of cool in my opinion.
Oh, that was JD. That was JD because I had a note in here that was just, no, not JD.
I don't know why you're trying to convince me that these people had names.
Yeah, I don't remember any. I just remember they all kind of looked like, a lot of the guys looked alike too.
They looked all the same. So,
but I couldn't tell you what the guy looked like. I just remember he was standing there and it was like a jump scare with the doors opening. They just grabbed him in. And I'm like, oh, all right. Like that was kind of cool.
I had this really with cool. Doom also, where I'm like, these are all the same white guy.
And Dwayne.
Oh man. There was a particular zombie. It was Alice's contact. That was Kurt's sister. I know his name's not Kurt, but he's forever.
Yeah, he's Kurt.
He's forever Kurt.
Wonder if
she got the grinder. Okay, she was a zombie. Why didn't she look like any other zombie?
Yeah, it like
they all had like blood and shit coming out of like their ears and eyes and stuff. They were all gross. And then she just looked pale. Like she was just like, oh man, I'm stressed.
Yeah. She's like, I'm sick. I have the flu. Take me home.
Well, I thought the idea there was that we were seeing her transform.
I could see that.
I could get that.
And that's what I thought watching it, was that the effect was supposed to be like subtle enough that like we're seeing that she's infected, but her brother might be like second guessing it and not noticing. And then she morphs a little more as she gets closer to him, like she was really recently. not recently bitten, because it does take a little while, but
It could take minutes to
it
hours.
recently
according.
started to take hold.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because, like, if we were to do that logic, then she could have been bitten, like, minutes before she's seen him because, like, Michelle Rodriguez took almost 2 hours to turn.
Yeah.
Which fucking kills me. That entire
Whereas
time.
they could have, made it take 5 minutes and then wrote her out a little quicker, and that would have been great.
Right. I mean, let's be fair. They wasted 2 vaccines.
Yeah.
Like, they literally did. Like, oh, you guys are going to be better. And then, nope. Yoinked them out of the trains.
Don't need that.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. I have, like, quick one-liners about the ending. That if you don't mind me synopsing the ending.
Usually though, when we talk about a bad movie and I'm like, oh hey, the good part when it ended.
When it ended.
And usually I'm being sarcastic, but this movie actually does.
The best scene was the ending. Yeah. It's
Not
like
sarcasm.
when we did the Mario Kart Let's Play, and you were like, Obama watches this show, and I said, thanks, Obama. Like, it's one of my favorite jokes we've ever made.
And he's going to comment one day.
Right.
He's
But
like, "You're welcome."
I wish. That would be great.
If that ever happens, I will get a tattoo of Obama on both my butt cheeks.
If I was
Is
the
it one big
president-
picture or one picture per each cheek?
One picture per each.
Nice. Is it before and after his presidency, though?
It's going to be both term pictures.
Nice.
So, like, first one and then the second one.
I'm okay with that.
If I was the president or anyone of significance, I would just like randomly comment on like nobody YouTubers. Just find people with 10 subscribers and be like, hey, these people are dope. Share it on Twitter.
They got troll
like once a
accounts.
week or so.
What's up, broski? And then just never acknowledge it.
It's like one of my favorite things I've seen about Bill Murray, where someone said, I was at a bar and Bill Murray just walked up to me and ate all my fries on my plate and then looked at me and said, no one's going to believe you anyway.
And I still don't know if I do.
Right.
That's why it's classic.
Bill Murray is pretty great. Bill Murray still has a fax machine, for crying out loud, that he makes people like fax himself. You know that?
That's awesome. No, I didn't.
Yeah, if anyone wants to pitch him like a script, they have to fax it to him.
Oh, that's right, because he doesn't have an agent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's beautiful and awful all at once.
So that proves their dedication, I guess.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, I guess it would.
Okay.
But, okay, here are my notes about the ending.
All right.
They wasted vaccines.
Mm-hmm.
He literally licked her and hardly knew her because he wrapped his tongue around her leg. Afterwards, someone was laying pipe. These are in poor taste. I'm okay with it. Then my next note was Kurt got the grinder. Sick rave music intensifies. And
We
then,
need to talk music.
yeah. And then I wrote Nemesis, Raccoon City. And then I said,
Video game stuff?
right. Needles break RFID scanners. Neat. And then credits.
So, Sean, you said you just watched the most recent movie too.
Yeah.
Do these eventually start
No.
using video game elements? Okay.
It was like watching I watched Final Chapter. It was like watching a 14-year-old try to make a Mad Max movie. Actually, probably would call it Mad Max instead. Like, it had some of the worst editing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like, it was like, here's a shot of this she shoots this zombie, all right? And they like do a zoom in, zoom out, and they like do like 3 different angles of her shooting the zombie. And it was like, she shot maybe like 4 shots in the matter of like 5 seconds. There were like 6 different scenes within those 5 seconds, and I hate every second of it. It's no. No, there's no reason this should have happened. There's no reason it should have made a final chapter. They should have done the second movie, which I don't even remember. I don't even know if it's good. I highly doubt it. But final chapter.
That's when they do canon stuff, though, because they put Jill Valentine in it, I believe.
Yeah, I will be 100% honest. Final chapter gave me such a headache. I paid attention to nothing because it just hurt to watch.
Oh yeah.
Like, it was like somebody. I promise, like a 14-year-old made this. Okay, they edited this. It was probably some intern. He was like, hey, you want to do this? And it was like, oh, well, this is for my high school project. All right.
That description reminds me of I think it's one of the Taken sequels. I saw a clip where it's like they needed old ass Liam Neeson to simply climb over a fence, but it's seriously like 30 shots edited together to get him over this fence.
I need to see that. Because I don't.
That's fantastic.
I need that in my life.
You can
Right.
probably YouTube Liam Neeson fence.
Oh, that'd be funny.
Oh, okay, so a big one that stuck out as, you know, something I remembered about the movie that I looked forward to and expected to still be good was the soundtrack.
It's good.
Which was worked on by, I don't know if either of you have the IMDb open, but it was Marilyn Manson and like an actual film composer working together.
I knew Marilyn Manson did it, but I didn't know the film composer.
Huh.
And I'm not sure what else. I assume Alex is looking for it right now. I'm not sure what else this guy worked on, but the idea is that getting this more traditional composer, you know, he would know more about like the fundamentals of music, in that like he would understand how you write good melodies and, you know, formulating things to work with a film because he's done film score. But Marilyn Manson would know more about like getting these strange sounds and textures and atmospheric stuff. He would kind of force the more traditional guy to experiment a bit more.
Yeah.
And so this was one of the first things as a kid that like I was like, oh, I'm gonna listen to this music outside of the movie. Like, I'm gonna download this and put it on my MP3 player and actually listen to it. And I gotta say, now, honestly, outside of like the main theme, I don't really like it anymore.
Really?
I don't. And it's maybe because it contributed to this feeling more like an action movie than a horror movie.
Yeah, I can see that.
Like, maybe it's just the guitar sounds, because like they do come up with appropriately like creepy, spooky, atmospheric sounds, and that works for a horror vibe. But then there's also full of down-tuned chugging guitars over like techno drum beats that like, okay, they needed to do that to suit the action we were seeing, but I was already kind of frustrated that we were seeing an action movie and not a horror movie to begin with. So I guess it didn't necessarily do wrong, but it did contribute to this thing I didn't want the movie to do.
Right.
Alex, you look confused.
What I'm confused about is the fact that I'm reading like the soundtrack and who it's performed by. I'm like, okay, Nine Inch Nails totally makes sense. I've never heard of Spine Shank. Never heard of Apollo 440.
You're looking at not the score of the movie, but one of those music
Soundtracks.
Inspired by, like Slipknot would be on there too.
Yeah.
For My Plague.
The two that were weird to me, Fear Factory's on here. I didn't realize Fear Factory was that old.
Huh.
And Coal Chamber.
Also that old.
Coal Chamber is that old? Or that, well, I mean, Coal Chamber I know is that old, but I thought Devil Driver was way older than, or I thought that Devil Driver like came out in like early 2000s and Coal Chamber ended in the late 90s.
I think Coal Chamber's last album was in the early 2000s from what I remember.
Was it really?
I think so.
Wow. So yeah,
that's
this
weird.
soundtrack, as opposed to the score, this soundtrack is full of bands that I loved at that time.
Right.
Like, you know, a bunch of industrial metal bands and new metal bands. And My Plague still fucking slaps.
It kind of does, yeah.
And so that's cool and all. It's also not horror music, it's action music.
Yeah. Which,
Right. If this
Not
was put
that
in a
that
horror
stuff
movie, it
was
wouldn't
used
work.
in the movie, but
Right.
so like, oh, go ahead.
the actual composer whose name I was looking for is Marco Beltrami, if I'm saying that right. And he has done entirely too much stuff for me to summarize, but I'm seeing a combination of horror and action movies here.
Yeah, he did the first 3 Scream movies, like Scream 1, 2, and 3.
Oh, okay.
And I also know he did the, because this is my favorite superhero movie, he did the soundtrack, or he composed the music to Logan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of good
That's
stuff on
really
the
interesting,
Wikipedia
yeah.
page.
Yeah, he did like a lot of stuff to my knowledge. Like he's done a lot. And it wasn't, I know he started off with horror, but he's kind of branched off into like multiple different like genres.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks that way for sure. A lot of television too. Anyway, but yeah, also the music kind of again, not that any of it's bad, but I question some of the effectiveness, A, because I didn't want it to be an action movie, but B, I think it's also pretty samey throughout, which is a hard thing to balance. It's hard to figure out, like, how do I give this movie its own distinct characteristics and tone? Because I'll give it that. This movie doesn't sound like other movies. It's hard to pull that off while also expressing a range of emotions.
Well, because here's the thing, like, one of my other notes was who's throwing this sick rave while these people are trying to escape?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not denying that the music is great. I just think some of it was ill-timed in certain spots.
It doesn't mesh.
Right. Yeah. I don't know. Like, because everything, like, seriously, there's not really a thing that I can think of that I can complain about the music other than it was just some of it wasn't working right for that particular scene. Like, I'm specifically referring to, like, when they went into, like, the spot where, like, all the plumbing and, like, electricity and stuff was, like, the maintenance tunnels, and they threw a sick rave over it. Like, come on.
Yeah.
Like, I understand you're trying to be exciting, but, like, you're trying to make me trip and be excited and run away at the same time, and one of those things is going to happen.
Yeah, well, and since it was Marilyn Manson who is into industrial music, then you have that kind of intersect where it sometimes leans metal and it sometimes leans into electronic genres, which would include dance kind of stuff, and also
like EDM.
Marco Beltrami, like, he started his work in the mid 90s, so he was surely inspired by 80s and 70s thrillers that used synthesizers for their horror soundtracks. Like, without knowing a thing about the guy, I just assume he's a big fan of the Halloween franchise.
Yeah,
that's accurate.
There's no, like, ambience to this when you really think about it. Like,
yeah, you're right.
Like, it just doesn't mesh, and there's no real, like, I don't know, suspense at all. Like, there's no music that goes with, like, build-ups or, like, makes you feel like you're in that environment.
Yeah.
It just feels like they're like, good.
It's like problem and solution without any sort of conflict.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And maybe that contributes to the way the movie just feels like it's happening at you.
Yeah. So you're just here for the ride, and you're not going to feel anything other than, like, disappointed. Because,
I don't know if disappointed was the emotion they were going for, but they achieved it.
Yeah, like, if you listen to the soundtrack and stuff without watching the movie, you'd be like, all right, this isn't bad.
Yeah.
It's absolutely. It's like what they did is they said, all right, make this soundtrack, and then we're just going to splice it into the movie.
Yeah. No,
like,
that's pretty accurate.
I don't think there was any collaboration between, like, the screenwriters and, like, all right, we're going to do this. We want it to feel like this. I don't feel like that was the case at all. It was just like, hey, make a Resident Evil soundtrack. We're going to put the music in. And that's what they did.
Yeah. And then that main title theme that I said I did still really like, that pops up a couple times during the movie. Like, maybe that stands out to me because it felt more suited to being a Resident Evil song to me. Or maybe I just remember falling asleep to the DVD and then I would hear that theme play over and over again when it got back to the main menu. But
that's
either
possible.
way.
That's the other thing too, like, even aside from the soundtrack, just like the minuscule, like, audio effects, like, there's no gross zombie, like, here, let's touch this zombie and get the gross, like, cabbage ripping and noodle slapping noises. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I'm that really kind of, I think, detracts a lot from the entire movie as a whole, because they're supposed to be gross, Yeah,
it didn't, there was, like, no suspense in the movie at all.
Yeah.
Like, there was no, oh, what's going to happen? Are they going to walk into something? Because, like, you have freaking machine guns and you're going to shoot stuff.
Exactly.
Like, I don't know. The tone just didn't work with me. I think if this was, like, a standalone movie, it might have been better.
I was just going to ask, do we think we'd feel any differently if this wasn't Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Yeah, because, like, then it's, like, an actual, like, zombie action movie. Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, you're right. I mean,
it wouldn't be as like I'm not gonna sit here and say it's gonna be like a great movie because like no you're exposing your thighs to a zombie. All right, you're not good based on that alone. But like I think it would be decent. I think it would have been like all right, it might have like a little cult following, but like it would have been okay.
Yeah, because it wouldn't have been living up to the expectation.
Yeah. Whereas it's like this is a Resident Evil game, a game where you have limited resources, tight corridors, jump scares. Which they try to do some jump scares, but they didn't really work either. It was like jump scare, bullets. That was it. That was it. And speaking of jump scares, they messed up. Oh my god, they messed up the. What's the thing?
The Thing is a different movie.
Yes, I know what I'm thinking of. It's the dog. I forget what the dog's name is.
Oh, the dogs.
Woof.
Yeah.
My favorite thing about that was when she kicked that dog in the face and it went 30 feet.
Yeah. But like I forget what they're called. I'm really upset at myself for forgetting what they're called.
To be honest, I didn't know they had names besides those zombie dogs.
But like it can't like the first time you see one in the Resident Evil movie, it like jumps at you through the window. This one just like walk up. Like
yeah.
It looked like literally looked like just a normal dog. Just with meat stretched across it.
Yeah, he just like walks up and he goes, "Play?"
Yeah.
I believe I said out loud at that moment, you came to the wrong neighborhood.
My first reaction was, "Aw, puppies."
Aw, who covered you with meat? I mean, I don't know how else I would have done it in 2002.
It's so bad.
And how were those dogs jumping like 6 feet up to meet the window on that door?
Because physics do exist.
Right.
Just not a thing.
Oh my god. Oh, the other thing too that I want to point out, why do video games use this bullshit logic-y stuff? Like in Doom it was something stupid. I forget what it was.
All of it.
But in this movie it was around the time, do you remember your friends going to you and going, when you die, your fingernails and your hair still grow after you die? They use that line of logic inside this movie.
I hate it. Why? Why did you bring that up?
Right. You're what you were saying to us is that the reasoning was like genetic research and development was because hair and fingernails still grow after you die, so the body's still alive, and there's like a low voltage current inside the brain, and it's like that's great.
That's also not what happens.
Right. Like, if that's what inspired you, I don't give a shit. Just tell me, no, this is what this virus does, and just keep it to that virus. I don't give a shit about,
don't try to explain any further if you're
don't try and logic me,
sense.
Yeah.
Right. You're about as bad as the legendary weapon, the BFG 9000.
No. The virus is a good enough explanation on its own. I don't know. They're half alive because that's what the virus does. Deal with it.
Yeah, right.
Or even do like what freaking The Last of Us did, which was like, well, this is just like a actual parasite that's taking host.
Mm-hmm.
All right, cool. The end. But no, we're just gonna. Your fingernails are why zombies exist. Shut the fuck up.
Right.
But it's also not true. See, and when you have like, I know there's been a couple different movies that play with that whole, you only use 10% of your brain at a time thing. And what if you could use 100% of it? I know there's been a couple of those. And like
featuring Scarlett Johansson.
There we go. For that purpose, like when it's the whole caveat of the movie, like I'll accept it there because it's not really like the writer saying I believe this. It's more like, but what if this was true? But when that's like not a defining piece of logic in the world we're working in, like the thing that we have to like accept in this world is a virus can cause zombies. Like don't add like that part's necessary. We can't have our zombie story without it. We can have our zombie story without elaborating some more nonsense science and saying, oh hey, by the way, there's still electrical energy in your brain, and we know that because your fingernails keep growing even though they don't.
The movie just lacks common sense in so many ways, shape, and forms. Even inside the writing, it's just whatever. Just eye droopy, fingernails growing, thighs exposed, I don't remember anyone's freaking name.
I want to make a band
the one
called
with a
Thighs
name
Exposed.
any.
Thighs Exposed, where everyone's name is Alice.
Oh man,
You
Don't
just
give
like
any
her.
gear to the one
Right.
character with a name.
yeah, don't. It'll hold her back, bro. It'll hold her
Yeah.
back. Oh my god.
What if,
yeah.
what if they gave her the gear and after like a couple scenes she has to fight a really tough zombie and she's like, oh, let me take off my training weights.
Right.
Takes the gear back off. We already had some anime fight logic anyway.
She like drops her skirt and it's like 700 pounds.
They
I
don't
need
say
this
it.
anymore.
I'll show you the results of my training.
She doesn't say it's 700 pounds, but somebody else walks up and tries to pull it out of the way, and they go, holy
Yeah.
shit, this must be 700 pounds.
She like picks it up and throws it and it like decimates a car.
Oh, and
Outside
I'm
the
like,
facility.
you know, this movie hit millions in the box office, and then like somebody on YouTube is like, who would win in a fight, this person or Alice from Resident Evil?
It's probably on Screw Attack somewhere.
Oh yeah,
I'm gonna look that
Schindler
up
or something.
real quick.
Oh no.
I mean, she does become a very powerful something in this
Yeah,
universe. I
wizard.
couldn't tell you what.
Warlock, sorcerer.
May as well be.
Mm-hmm.
Terminator versus RoboCop.
Oh,
So,
is that Death Battle? Is that Death Battle you're looking at?
Screw
Yep.
Attack, Death Battle. I did
Oh,
also
wow.
own Resident Evil Apocalypse at that time and loved it.
Mhm.
But when the third movie, whatever it was called, came out, like I had just reached the age where I had enough taste that like I rented it from a Hollywood video and I watched 5 minutes of it and I went, what the fuck is this?
The third Resident
And
Evil
turned
movie.
it off
No,
and never went back.
Oh,
Oh.
oh no.
Oh no.
Oh no?
Oh wait, it's not really by Death Battle, but there is an Alice versus Celine, Resident Evil versus Underworld.
Hmm.
So it exists,
Why?
Oh no.
and I refuse to touch that.
Yeah, me too, but
They have a couple 100,000 views, so I'm proud of them.
Don't give somebody views for that. I don't even want views for this.
right.
Nobody watched this. Nobody.
Only watch this because of our special guest.
And then like somehow like the Marilyn Manson's the only one who comments on this and is like,
Yeah.
yeah, you know what, this soundtrack, they just said fuck it.
Yeah. Or he's like really angry about our opinion. He's like, I bet you can't even lift 700 fucking pounds with your skirt.
Oh my. Who win Death Battle? Alice versus Marilyn Manson.
Oh.
I do wish Marilyn Manson was the kind of guy that just like held on to like his strong beliefs that this is a good movie and just like looked for every review on YouTube for the rest of his life and just commented angrily on all of them. He uses like official Marilyn Manson Vivo
Oh no.
Yes.
and hunts
It's
down
like
reviews
that-
and comments from there.
Like that cool cat
that'd be
guy.
Funny. The cool cat guy. Oh man.
Okay. Does anyone have any final thoughts here?
Fuck this movie.
Yep.
Okay. On average, compared to other video game movies,
This is better than Doom and Doom 2019.
I think this might still be better than most video game movies.
It's hard to say.
The bar's
like-
pretty low. We'll see my opinion change if we get to Assassin's Creed.
Oh god. So like this,
It's bad, but it's probably better.
I forgot that was a thing, to be honest with you. So like this, I think it's like on the lower end. There's still some movies I think that are worse. Like Mortal Kombat Annihilation, I think is pretty god awful. Which he didn't work on. The guy who made this didn't work on that. Proud of him. He left while he could.
It shows.
But I don't know. It's low end. It is not as bad as the final movie, though. I can tell you that. The final movie is just like a fever dream.
How many Resident Evil movies are there?
Probably like 8.
32.
Oh Christ.
Actually, I'll look real quick.
But the problem is you can't watch Resident Evil 2 without watching Resident Evil 0, the movie on cassette. I feel like
Just on cassette.
it's like the Kingdom Hearts of movies.
All right, let's go through this. We have Resident Evil Apocalypse, Resident Evil Extinction, Resident Evil Afterlife, Resident Evil Retribution, and then finally Resident Evil Final Chapter.
How many
That's
parts is that
actually-
final chapter?
It says 1.
Okay.
That
Oh,
was
yeah,
a trend there for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The first 3 movies came out within 5 years, in a 5-year span.
Wow.
So
It's-
why
Wasn't there
do
Resident-
we...
Did you say Apocalypse?
Yeah.
Apocalypse is 2.
Okay.
So why do we think this franchise continued to make enough money to be a franchise? Because most other video game movies stop.
Probably because Anderson has made some okay movies. Like, he made Alien vs. Predator, for crying out loud.
Mm.
So, like, maybe they believed in him. Maybe people still want that gritty feel. I don't know. I really don't know.
I'm wondering if it's because they got enough right in most people's eyes for Resident Evil. Because Resident Evil, like, the games usually start out as like a horror thing until you get further into them. Like Resident Evil 4 is a prime example where if like that was my first game, was Resident Evil 4, and you get into the game and you have no idea what the fuck is happening until about halfway through, and then you're like, oh, it's like a science-y thing. Like, now it makes more sense.
Yeah.
And they just didn't quite get the mark in this movie, but I don't know if that changes. Like, if you were to treat them all as like a singular game versus as movies being sequeled, I wonder if that would change an opinion. You know what I mean? Like,
I can see that.
like as a format in whole, you know, like treat all the movies as a single game.
Okay. I'm gonna go with the answer is some people have bad taste in movies, but that wouldn't explain every other video game franchise giving up on the movies.
I think it's one of those where it might be, some people might see it as like a it's so bad it's good type deal.
Okay.
Because, like, I could imagine, like, some people be like, you know, let's buy this Resident Evil movie, grab a couple beers and watch it with some friends. You know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I can
Kind of
see
like
that.
The Room becoming so popular because it was so bad.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That, now they made a movie off of that. Oh, God.
Yeah.
Now
They made a movie off of making the movie The Room.
Which I actually like that movie.
It was really good.
I've heard it's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was enjoyable. Now, unlike Resident Evil.
Is The Room more enjoyable than Resident Evil, though?
Oh, yeah. I could sit down and watch that more than I could watch Resident Evil. Resident Evil makes me want to rip my hair out. The Room makes me question why I have hair.
I still want to see
for
the
sure,
Silent Night,
because-
Deadly Night series because of that reason.
Like, this is bad, but it's not so bad that it gives me like rewatch value to keep coming back to it.
Right.
Yeah.
It's just good enough for me to be like, well, they tried.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And so it's just not as entertaining to revisit that. Like, unless this show gives me another reason to revisit it, like, this will be the last time I ever watch it.
I think it's more like if you're a Resident Evil fan, you want to like sit down and have a couple laughs type of thing.
Mhm.
Like, I think it's like kind of like that type of deal. Because I don't expect like somebody who like never played Resident Evil to like have as much hate towards it as Resident Evil fans do.
Mhm.
Like, you can still acknowledge that it's bad, but it's like it's bad, but it's like they just kind of crapped on Resident Evil lore entirely and just missed the mark.
Yeah. Yeah. I do have to say that at least the gamers of the movies that they want to watch, I feel like we're a little bit better than the book readers of the movie. Because we're like, yeah, it sucks. It wasn't good. Like, they got this wrong. But like everyone that's like a book reader's like, no, they missed this small detail. This person was actually blonde and not a redhead. Or you know what I mean? Like that kind of shit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me making my girlfriend watch Lord of the Rings, which literally just happened. I'm like, now you gotta understand, people are mad about this part because so and so and so and so, and she's like, I'm just trying to watch this 3-hour movie.
I won't read The Lord of the Rings because I don't want to ruin for myself a series of movies that I consider to be pretty much perfect. I don't want to read the books and then go, oh, these 10 out of 10 movies are now 8 out of 10.
I need someone to shit on me even more. So, Sean, I'm going to let you know I haven't seen any of them.
How have you not seen Lord of the Rings?
So here was the promise to myself was once I had bought my house and got everything settled, I was going to marathon these movies. And then I got so wrapped up in fixing stuff in my house that I haven't had a chance to watch them.
Stop fixing things.
That's a good idea.
Well,
I'm
yeah,
gonna go
for
watch
one.
these movies. Yeah, for one.
Yeah.
Quit being an idiot. Step 2, go watch these movies.
Step 1, stop this podcast right now and go do everything. Go watch those movies right now, and then come back to me. I want a 3-page essay on Fellowship of the Ring. I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Don't do
Well, and it's going to take you 12 hours to watch the movies, but it's going to take you 12, 24, 48 hours to watch all the commentary tracks and another 20 hours to watch all the bonus features.
Yeah, I need you to understand, like, people that when they broke their bones, I want you to see that and know that it happened, because that did actually happen.
Oh
But
shit. Okay.
that was a lot. I'm sorry. That part made no sense, but it makes sense if you watch it.
Okay. I'm gonna have to watch these now. I really have to.
I do absolutely love them,
I think
especially
my wife has them, so that'll be cool.
like especially since they're like from back in like 2001. The style, like, there's very little CGI.
Yeah.
A lot of it is, things that they handmade and stuff, and it's so freaking cool how they built like this entire, like, it still holds up fairly well.
Okay.
They
Like, the
saved
last-
the CG for when they needed it,
Yeah,
which
Which,
The
like,
Hobbit
there's a-
utterly failed to do.
yeah. The Hobbit was just like, let's make CGI.
Right.
It's like, I still enjoyed The Hobbit, but like it just wasn't as memorable. if
The
that makes
Hobbit
any
was
sense.
like, oh, hey, The Hobbit was an animated movie the last time we did this. Let's make an animated movie again.
Yeah, that's pretty much how it was. Whereas
Oh,
Lord of the Rings
wow.
is like, all right, we're gonna put you people on these horses. So like, it's so good. And Dalton, you need to, just read one of the books. Like it actually does a lot of stuff by the book. There are some things here and there, but like it is very, very close to how the book is.
Actually,
Okay.
on the reels, I did start reading The Fellowship like a decade ago, and then someone stole my book out
Oh,
of
yeah.
the work break room, and I've been
Well.
too salty to rebuy them ever since.
One day
Oh,
it's
I
gonna
forgot about
return to
that.
you.
The same copy. Yep.
Return of the Fellowship.
I do work in the same place. I should keep checking the break room.
It's probably in the Lost and Found.
Did you write your name in the book? Oh. How are you gonna know it's yours?
Okay. This has been our Lord of the Rings spotlight episode.
I'm sorry, I got a little too excited there.
No, it's cool.
Thanks for listening to us cry about another movie. We have legitimately only been watching like bad movies or
I
like
know.
okay movies at best forever. And I'm just starting to feel like a real fucking bummer.
I know, right? We need to watch a good movie. Like The Room.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone. Sean, go ahead and plug yourself one more time.
Yeah, I'm Wolfkaosaun. I do comedic video game reviews. I just try to make people laugh, and I refuse to ever watch Resident Evil the movie again. And also, I really am happy I got to do this podcast. It was a lot of fun, despite me being scarred from watching Resident Evil 1 and the final chapter, which if you have not seen the final chapter, don't. Just stop. Just stop. Go outside and stand there for 2 hours, and you will have a better time.
Well, I'm sorry it had to be like this, but thanks for being here, Sean.
Yeah, thank you. It was a pleasure, man.
And we'll see you guys next time.
See ya.
We
Goodbye.
need a cooler sign off.